Good afternoon, my friend. Welcome to an impromptu show. This is why you turn on notifications. I am Lou Mangello. It is a Monday afternoon instead of a Wednesday night. Obviously, lots of stuff happening in the Disney World right now, and I felt compelled to go live with you to chat about it rather than type out a blog post or a social post, not only because I stink at typing, because I think it's easier this way, and more importantly, I want to hear from you. So if you're watching live, thank you for being here. Please do me a favor, tag and invite a friend and share this out, because there's a lot happening this Monday. Not just a new podcast, by the way. I'll quickly plug show 617. We talk about looking forward to what's to come in 2021 this year, and Disney says, hold my Dole Whip. I have some breaking news to share. I'm sure you have already seen the news from the Disney Parks blog today about a couple of changes that are coming to Walt Disney World. Not today, not tomorrow, but in the future. And the first and foremost is that Disney's Magical Express, the complimentary bus service to and from Orlando International Airport to the Disney resorts, will be ceasing service in 2022. We'll get to that. It's, again, not happening today or tomorrow. Certainly, the internet is vocal about it, to say the least. So I wanted to get on, chat with you a little bit, certainly get your thoughts and impressions as well. And to specifically quote from the Disney Parks blog released this morning, as we plan for the future, we're looking at how needs and preferences are changing across the travel industry, particularly in the way that people want to get places faster and at their convenience. And vacationers now have more options to choose from for their transportation, including ride-shared services that save time, offer more flexibility to get where they want, when they want, and in light of this shift, when Disney Resort hotel bookings open for stays in 2022, we will no longer offer Disney's Magical Express for airport transportation, starting with arrivals on January 1st. Obviously, they'll continue to operate for new and existing reservations through 2021, and certainly this doesn't affect any of the complimentary transportation that does take place inside the Walt Disney World Resort property, so to Disney Springs, to other resorts, to the theme parks as well. And first and foremost, I get it. I absolutely understand the initial knee-jerk reaction that we have when we hear that, quote-unquote, something else is going away. Something else is being taken away. And when I hear these things, when I see these things, this is me, personally, I try and give myself a little bit of pause, and I think you should do this too. We need to ask ourselves why, right? Why is this happening? Why does this change take place? And like a lot of things that have happened in the past 10 months since COVID-19 really started to be so incredibly impactful, especially here in the States, there are a lot of things that have happened that are not necessarily Disney's fault, right? They certainly are responsible for the choices they make in response to things, but this is not, as I'm seeing a lot of people saying, just another way for Disney to save money, just another way to put money in the pockets of I think that's a little or a lot unfair. I think we sort of need to think about some of the reasons why and some of the logic in terms of why this might be happening. And in no particular order of importance, I tried to just sort of quickly think about some of the reasons why this choice would be made. So let's look at what is, but once it goes away, what's going to be replacing it. I think a lot of this is certainly predicated on the Brightline train service that is going to be coming next year. It is slated to start in 2022, which will give train service from Orlando International Airport right into Walt Disney World property, specifically to Disney Springs. My expectation, and I have no knowledge one way or the other, my expectation is that you'll be able to board this train from the airport to Disney Springs, and once you get there, that is where the internal complimentary transportation, if you are staying on property, will kick in. So you don't have to worry about, well, how am I going to get from Disney Springs to Art of Animation, to Grand Floridian, to the Riviera, I believe that it would only make sense that Disney will have transportation. So worrying about reservations in the future, again, this does not affect you in 2021. This is only for 2022. As we know, a lot can happen in the next 11 months, but sort of on paper, this is where we are. So when that does step into place, we will have the hopefully we'll have the train service in place and then the internal transportation system coming. Again, why does this happen? Why does Disney make this decision? Do they make this announcement now? And I need you to, for a second, switch places. Not with me. Trust me, you don't want to be me. You need to switch places with Disney. We need to sort of think about things sometimes, not from a guest perspective, but from a business owner perspective. And yes, Disney is this incredibly large, incredibly financially strong multinational corporation, but put yourself in as a business owner and think about it from on a more macro level in terms of making prudent fiscal decisions, not just for now, but for the future and for your shareholders that you have to answer to. If you think about it, right now, Disney's Magical Express has less guests because obviously Disney is operating at a much lower capacity, certainly less guests who are coming in via air as opposed to locals, people who are driving to and from Walt Disney World. So not only do they have less guests, I was going to initially say that they have the same costs. I would actually argue that Disney's costs have increased. Why? Because you have less guests, but more importantly, safety being first, you can only have less guests per bus, right? So in order to adhere to CDC and physical distancing protocols, you are now no longer filling a bus full of guests. So if you have 20 guests that are waiting at MCO to get to Art of Animation, you no longer need one bus, you need 3 buses, which means you have 3 more pieces of equipment, 3 more bus drivers. There's a lot of cost and logistics that goes into it. There's a huge cost in addition just to that. There's just an inherently huge cost to Disney to operate out of MCO, right? Orlando International Airport doesn't just say, yeah, you guys come and go as you please, use whatever space you want. There is a huge financial cost and burden associated with having a presence at MCO. Think about you as a business owner. If you had to pay rent to have your restaurant and less guests were coming in, but your costs are still going up, something's got to give somewhere. And the pandemic has made it far more costly. You have more buses with less people. You now have the additional cost of enhanced cleaning protocols, which are even more difficult, I think, because you have soft surfaces. And when I say soft surfaces, I mean you have big, soft, cushy, absorbent cloth seats as opposed to hard plastic seats. So the cleaning protocols for those are different than giving it a little spray down with some, some Lysol in order to clean it. You now have closed spaces. So from a practical execution point of transporting less guests to the same places with more, it's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more time consuming. It's a lot more costly. From a purely financial perspective, I get that. And look, I have personally received emails from people who have asked me, and I do not work for the company, I'm not paid for the company, I cannot answer for the company, who has said to me, how is Disney possibly operating bus services? Is it really responsible during this pandemic time? I don't have the answer to that question, but clearly there's people who are concerned about riding the buses. Remember too, think about the number of resorts that are still closed, right? So again, there's people coming in, less places for them to go, needing more bus services. Plus two, over time, the number of guests who have been using and taking advantage of Disney's Magical Express has gone down. Again, we don't know numbers, but just bearing out basically what we see and hear from people online, there are less people who are starting to use that service because they like the convenience and the flexibility of using a rideshare service like a Lyft, like an Uber, right? They don't like getting to the airport, excited for their vacation to start, waiting for a bus, waiting for their bus, having to make 6 stops before they get to their resort, then waiting for their luggage to get to the room. You want sometimes, and I know because I've traveled from New Jersey to Orlando a lot before I moved here. When you get here, you can't wait to get to the parks. And any time that is spent waiting feels like it's time wasted, especially if you have 2 young kids. I get it. So a lot of people have moved over to the Uber and Lyft to get to and from the airport so they don't have to get downstairs outside the resort at 4 hours before their flight leaves and worry about getting their luggage outside. They like, as I always did, I always liked the convenience and the flexibility. For me, it used to be renting a car because it was pre-Uber days. And to be clear, as a parent, I absolutely understand and can appreciate the car seat dilemma when it comes to using a Lyft or Uber. When you come down, Magical Express was there. You did not have to have or be transporting a car seat. Not every Lyft or Uber has car seats. Certainly with Magical Express, it made it a lot easier. So I am certainly sensitive to that. All that being said, and I think the language is very intentional, very deliberate in terms of what Disney put on their blog. We don't know what the future might hold. And what I mean by that is, will this potentially mean a return of something like the minivan service, which is sort of the Disney sort of operated Lyft service with not just the branded minivans, but ones that had car seats inside. This is, step one of what is probably going to be a process and a new normal that is going to change over time. I think we all know and understand Disney very, very much listens clearly to guests, and it's become a lot easier for guests to have a voice without having to worry about calling guest relations. They pay attention on social, and they will certainly feel the temperature of what guests are feeling, and I think can adjust accordingly as well. Now, somebody I know asked, how does this affect Disney Cruise Line? When Disney Cruise Line starts to operate again, there is the Magical Express transportation in between. That's a different service than the DME that goes to and from the airport. That's actually a Mears operated service. Mears is still in business. I've talked to Becky Mankin from Mousefan Travel. She has confirmed that she believes that this is still going to be in place once cruising comes back. We will tackle that when cruising, hopefully sooner rather than later, does come back. But I think, again, as a guest, my first reaction is like yours. You hate to see anything go away, right? We hate to feel like anything is being taken away, whether it's an attraction, a show, a cast member. Look, I am very hyper aware of whenever something's taken away that there is a person, there are people that lose their jobs as a result. But, any and every business, yours, mine, Disney's included, is down right now, financially and otherwise, is very down and needs to make adjustments. And that's why I ask you to sort of, before you light your torch, you put yourself in the shoes of Disney and figure out and understand that sometimes things have to change out of necessity for one reason or another. They are a business owner like anybody else. It's at a different scale, but it doesn't matter. There are still profits and losses and shareholders and adjustments that have to be made. And we have all made adjustments and sacrifices and changes in our business to adjust. It's just much more pronounced because it's at the scale and because of the way we feel about this place and the way we feel about this company. Look, if you paid attention to the stockholder reports and the broadcast from Disney, Disney is continuing to hemorrhage an absurd an absurd amount of money. And wish as we might, Baby Yoda alone has not been able to stop that bleeding in terms of what is lost in revenue from the parks, from the resorts, from consumer products, from movies, from that. So you have to sort of understand certain things from a financial situation. And look, a lot has changed and continues to change because of the pandemic. And I'm going to come full circle and say that sometimes we have to try and understand why things happen. Look, I would not want to be in Disney's shoes having to make these difficult decisions. Because again, this is not just about taking away a bus service or complimentary transportation. It affects a lot more people in a lot of different ways. But I think you also have to ask yourself a question, which is, do you think Disney ever wants to disappoint or upset a guest in any way? Every cast member's role, from cashier to custodial to chief financial officer and everything in between, is the same. It is to make people happy. And I cannot believe, as somebody who just loves, forget what I do, who is just a Disney fan, I cannot believe that these decisions come as easily as maybe a lot of people in the Twitterverse might make them out to be. I think, unfortunately, sometimes these things and these decisions have to be made, and I'm hoping that they're temporary. And I hope these things come back, like we talked about on this week's show. I hope these things and these people come back better and maybe even different and stronger than ever. And look, to that point, part of the Disney Parks blog post today talked about, and I'm quoting, as we continue to manage health and attendance and safety top of mind, extra magic hours are not going to return. Again, on its face, very, very upsetting. But let's also think about it in terms of where things are right now. And we talked about it last week on the show, and I think again this week, because things have changed in terms of attendance and the way people are now not just approaching their park day, but there's lemonade to be made from lemons, meaning because the parks are less crowded, because of the efficiency that is built in to some of the new systems, because you are not necessarily queuing up for hours for a parade, a show, fireworks, restaurants, whatever, you have more time to get more done in the parks. What's the result of that? And I see this having stayed on property and been a guest and knowing people who've done the same thing. You go to the parks early, you get all the things done that you want to get done, and now you have the blessing of time. The thing that you didn't have before, which now as a resort guest affords you the ability to go back to your resort, enjoy the pool, enjoy the amenities, enjoy some of the recreational activities, go down to Disney Springs, go relax by the pool, whatever it might be. You're paying so much for that resort. Now you have the opportunity to take more advantage of it. So again, you don't have the nighttime extra magic hours, but what you do have as a resort guest are 30 minutes more in the morning, any park, any day. So it used to be, it would be Magic Kingdom on Tuesday in the morning. Wednesday would be Animal Kingdom for an hour at night. Now every park, every day, you can choose that morning whatever park you want to go to and take advantage of that extra time without non-resort guests there. So you now have the additional extension of 30 minutes. So I think, as a local, that doesn't necessarily affect me because I think for a lot of us who are locals, we're not necessarily rushing to the parks at rope drop anymore, especially now, thank you, Rise of the Resistance virtual queue, being able to do that from home. And look, like a lot of the things we've lost, extra magic hours at night may come back. Look, I swear to you that I look forward to the day that parks are back at 100% capacity with no masks, with no physical distancing, every restaurant open, hugging characters, all the things that we have lost, I hope comes back. And I hope early morning, nighttime extra magic hours, all the things that have gone away, every single cast member, I said this on the show, every single cast member, everything that we lost gets to hopefully come back. And I almost and as I'm looking through very quickly on the article, they two other things that were mentioned was the returning of the park hopper option. We talked about that. That kicked in on January 1st. I think that is going to continue to evolve as well. There's also a new vacation offer. Now you get, and you know, these things get lost in the stuff that we're so focused on the stuff that we lose. For those guests who are coming, we sometimes miss out on some of the good stuff. So you get not one, but 2 extra days added to your ticket if you buy a 4-night, 3-day room and ticket package at certain resort hotels for now through September 2nd. So instead of getting 4 nights, instead of getting 3 days, you're now getting 5 days. That's a lot, that's a lot of extra money. You think about your family of 4 or 5 coming here, not having to pay for 2 additional park days. Again, there are, my mantra of choosing the good, is certainly consistent across the board. That was sort of a buried lead, because it was sort of at the almost near the bottom of the post. Again, I understand that there is a lot to be frustrated about, whether it is from an economic perspective. Hey, now when I go, what if the train's not there? Maybe I do have to get a car service or an Uber or a Lyft, or call Lou Mangello and see if he'll pick me up from the airport. I would if I could, but I can't. There are other considerations, again, that as a guest, as a fan, as a parent, I am totally understanding of. But again, I sometimes think that we need to flip our positions, try and look at why things happen, maybe try and understand it, and then hopefully look forward to either things improving, things changing. Look, nothing is written in stone, right? Decisions that are made today can always be changed, improved upon, and adjusted as the world around us and the things that are outside of Disney's control adjust as well. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch the comments go by because, 1, they're flying by, and 2, I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't read them. And I'm going to try and go back and read through as many. If there's one that I missed and you want me to specifically comment on, I would absolutely be happy to. Somebody said put Lou Mangello at speed dial. Let me see if I can go back very quickly and see if Miguel says, in my opinion, if it was meant to happen, I'd take 30 minutes rather than nothing at all. Paulette says, thank you for being the voice of reason. Still miss the magic starting as soon as I get off the plane. I'm sure that and look, the magic misses you too, Paulette. So 30 minutes is a big deal for guests that only want to get in line for some of the big new thing, especially with all the guests spread through all 4 parks. Beatrice, that's exactly what it's going to do, because that 30 minutes is really going to be more like 90 minutes. And what do I mean by that? Because every resort guest is now not trying to get into Animal Kingdom to get on Flight of Passage. They're spread between all 4 parks. Now, all of a sudden, those numbers are lower, which means you're getting more sort of benefit from the time of that 30 minutes. So that's a great point as well. I wonder if they'll offer something similar to Express Magic Hours, but at an additional cost. Chrissy, I think at some point, look, if a lot of you are probably too old to remember, there were e-ticket nights, e-ride nights, where it used to be like $25, and they would leave like Magic Kingdom open for a few extra hours. Now there are hard ticket events. Well, it's Villains After Hours, Christmas parties, DVC events, annual pass holder events. Those will come back. Without a doubt, those will come back. Right now is not the time for them to return. There are still a lot of things that are being ramped up to speed. Things are not back to, just far from back to the way they were, certainly not just in the parks, but keep in mind how many resorts at Walt Disney World are still closed. So again, you have to sort of be a little bit understanding of why things happen. Becky Mankin from Mouse Fan Travel says the new name for EMH is Early Theme Park Entry, or ETP. Early Theme Park Entry. Getting into the parks early. That's just what we call it. So, and I see some of you are not happy with the fact that it's only 30 minutes. I think it'll be curious to see when this starts to be implemented, what it's going to look like from a practical perspective. How many guests are utilizing it? Where are they going? Look, Disney at its heart is a data collection company. They will very, very, very closely monitor who's going where, when, how, and why, and will try and adjust accordingly. Again, what's their goal? Make people happy. Do you think they want to see a single disappointed guest? Do you not think that they will do everything that they can to make a guest happy? That's why they excel at customer service. That's why they are the platinum standard for it, is because that is what they do. And again, I'm reading comments in terms of the upsetness, and I certainly do get it. I understand missing Magical Express as well. Becky saying it's been reported a lot of people using it for Lyft and Uber. Yeah, a lot of people have been using Lyft and Uber. Look, there's a huge benefit for using a Lyft and Uber service. Talking about the time money efficiency ratio, for the $25-$30 it might cost you to walk out of the airport with your luggage and have your private car waiting for you, taking you right to your resort, you are saving potentially hours of time. Are the hours of time that you save, the hours of time that you get at your resort or in the park, are they worth that additional $35? That's a very subjective personal decision. It was one that I made years ago, and I'm like, yeah, like I want to get into, when I lived in New Jersey, I wanted to get into the parks as quickly as I could. I deprived myself of a snack or two. Okay, maybe that's one snack, but I chose to take an Uber or Lyft in order to be able to do that. I stopped renting cars, right? I stopped because I found that service and the internal transportation was just so much more efficient that way. I'm just trying to go back. Mike Camp says it stinks, but things are beginning to to open back up. And I understand too from a guest experience level. Again, it's a very difficult thing to navigate. I for whatever reason, I put myself, when I hear that decisions are being made, and it's not just Disney, it's just the way I operate. If I hear that a local restaurant, an airline, whatever it is, makes a business decision in response to something like a global pandemic, very much out of their control, my first question is, all right, why are they doing this, right? What's the rationale? What is forcing that decision, especially one that they know is not going to be best from a public relation perspective? You think Disney likes putting out a release or a blog post saying that something else is going away? It stinks. It stinks. I look, again, on a very, very, very microscopic level, I know what it's like to have to say something that you know is going to potentially disappoint somebody. When you're Disney and you have to say something that's going to potentially disappoint tens of millions of people, I don't want to be the guy that's got to write that blog post or certainly make that decision. But we have to look forward to what potentially might be coming back again. I'm trying to scroll back on comments that that you are all making. Becky makes a good point. Car seats a year before it'll happen, so third-party companies will have time to adjust for the car seat needs. I agree. I think that Uber or Lyft, and because I haven't needed a car seat for years, I don't know if this is even a thing. The first one that's able to implement an option to say, hey, I need car seats, and then train their drivers to make sure that they're installed well or whatever. And look, as somebody who traveled in the past, I brought my car seats. It stinks. They're big, they're bulky, you gotta lug them, but I did because I didn't trust any other car seats. I was a very overprotective dad. 17 years later, I still am an overprotective dad. So I sucked it up. I brought my own car seat with me. It didn't cost me anything more than a little bit more sweat and couple more minutes putting it into a rental car or a taxi. It's just what we did. So I get it. I get it. Seeing mirrors, but totally get it. And look, I think when this train opens, when the Bright Line train opens between MCO and Disney Springs, a lot of the things that we have concerns about right now, and look, like I hope they turn the speed at which they get this train station done up to 12, and they get it done in time for next year, so that there is not sort of that gap in between no Magical Express and no train. And if so, you know, the conversation we might be having now, that we're having now, might be moot because something else might come into play. There's probably opportunity here for all of you budding entrepreneurs to find something that might fill that gap, right? Some sort of transportation service that might be able to do that. Look, that's how Lyft and Uber were born. You know, necessity being the mother of invention. Who doesn't know what the next few months and the next year might very much look like? So I am trying, like I said, I'm trying to go back and read comments as much as I can, as well as catch your new comments. It is the blessing and the curse of comments going by so very fast as they do. Brian Wall's looking to start a shuttle service, so hopefully things like Mears do take advantage of it. Hopefully, maybe it opens up opportunities for Uber drivers and Lyft drivers. Look, we have all had to, like it or not, adjust to a world that is changing so rapidly and in many ways very harshly and in ways that we have never had to deal with before. This is all new for everybody involved, for us as guests, for Disney, for the transportation companies, for the cast members, for the food vendors, for every single person. And I'm going to repeat and echo what I said when the parks were first reopening. Like, you need to continue to be patient and be understanding and be kind. And sometimes, it's not all about, well, you're taking this from me. Me. We have to understand that this is affecting everybody in different ways. And while we might not like the individual effect that it happens on us, I sort of believe that a lot of things that are happening are through no fault of anyone, other than maybe the guy who ate the bat. Like, if we could find that, and I'm kidding, like, I don't even know that there was a guy who ate the bat, but that's sort of what every meme seems to say. But and I'm making light of it because I know it's difficult and I know it's frustrating and I know it's sad. And look, there's even for some people there's the emotional connection to Magical Express. There's something about getting on that bus and watching that video and surprising your kids and that feeling of sort of being there and that anticipation of, I get all of it. I get every single part of it. I will go back to what I said at the very beginning when this all happened and when I started today. I understand, and nobody likes it. And I think you have to believe that Disney doesn't like it either. And this is not, the decisions that are being made are not by choice. They are doing their best to make the best out of a horrible situation. And I think, I hope and I pray and I believe that the things that are happening are temporary. And I have faith that when we come out and when Disney comes out on the other side of it, it'll probably end up being better for everybody. There's great lessons that are being learned in business and otherwise right now, and certainly from a corporate perspective. So before we let our individual emotions take hold and we get sad, I just ask that you try and then put yourself in the shoes of another person, whether that person is an individual next to you on the street or that individual is the poor guy who's, given one of the biggest companies on the planet, right, literally like the day that the pandemic hits, and they're all trying to figure out, and stockholders and everybody else. So I think we this is a conversation that can and should continue to happen. Look, Disney is different because these kind of decisions elicit emotional responses from us, right? We are passionate Disney enthusiasts, or else we wouldn't be here. This place, these people, they mean something to us. So when we hear that a bus service is going away, anywhere else, it might not really matter all that other than from an inconvenience point of view. But for here, for us, we think about memories, we think about our kids, we think about, how it's going to change next time. So I understand 110%. And there's a part of me that feels the exact same way that you do. And I don't want that to get lost in trying to understand and rationalize and find the good in some of these things that are happening. Look, and I hope this train, when it opens, is going to be like the best thing since sliced bread. And go, oh my God, remember when you used to have to get on those stupid buses and they were hot and they were crowded and that stupid video was playing over and over again? Like, this train is amazing. I hope that's the case, and certainly I'm making light of things, but things are not always as bad as they might seem at the beginning, and hopefully we are on the road to things continuing to improve and get better. So, how lucky are we? Lisa No Glass says, how lucky are we to love something so much that even the smallest changes hurt? I get it. And tweet, I'm with you. I love trains. Like, I really love trains a lot. The last train I think I rode was in, going in Alaska or in Japan. Like, I just love the train experience. And I think there'll be something to be said for the ones when it opened here. It will become the magical tracks. So it will. And it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Again, I certainly welcome your comments and your commentary. I know that in the clubhouse, there are a number of threads that have already begun. I'd also love to chat about this more on the podcast. If you have an opinion that you'd want to share, call the voicemail at 407-900-9391. It's sort of literally the best way for you to have a voice. And if there's something that I missed, look, I understand that my situation and where I'm coming from is not necessarily representative of certainly nearly every single individual guest and their families. And there might be things that I'm missing. And if so, it is not on purpose. It is from purely ignorance. I want to be enlightened. I want to be educated in terms of things that I might not be missing. And I'm sure Disney does as well, so that they can try and address, again, Disney's goal from day one, word one, cast member one, and everyone in between is to make people happy. And I think, and I always believe, and I know that is always their mission and their message. And look, if there's something that I can do and something that, some way that I could help or something that I can address for you, by all means, please let me know and let me know what I can do. Like I said, we will talk more about this in the clubhouse, and certainly I'm sure this will come up again on Wednesday night. Don't forget to join this and every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here at WDW Radio Live. Please do me a favor. Tell a friend. Share it out. This week's podcast, this video, whatever it might be, the more the merrier in this incredible community that you have helped create. Thank you so much for joining me on, obviously, a very impromptu live. Let me know if you dig these kind of things. Maybe if you'd like me to start doing more of these in this new year. Any opportunity that I have to not just connect, but communicate with you like this real time is always appreciated. If you are planning a trip in 2020 or 2021, wait, no, strike that, reverse it. If you are planning a trip in 2021 or 2022, wait, I can't find it. Hold it. Wait, no, that's not it. Let's try it that way. If you're planning a trip in 2021 or 2022 and you have any questions about getting there, which really is half the fun, you can reach out to Becky and her team over at Mouse Fan Travel. And also, like I said, don't forget you can take advantage of that new special vacation offer. You get 2 extra days added to your ticket when you buy a 4-night, 3-day room and ticket package at select resorts for most nights, January 8th through September 25th, 2021. You can go and visit them at mousefantravel.com. So that is going to do it for today, barring some other unsuspecting announcement that may come out from Disney. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping to spread the word. And thank you for always choosing the good and being the good for other people. I love and appreciate you. So until next time, see ya.